The atmosphere in Vatican City was electric with anticipation. Murmurs reverberated through the ancient stone hallways. The weight of history felt heavy and expectant. Pope Francis, the spiritual leader of 1.3 billion people, had passed away. His earthly journey had come to an end. Now, the Church was preparing for a new leader, a new chapter. On May 7th, the sacred ritual of the papal conclave would commence. Cardinals from across the globe would gather in the Sistine Chapel, their solemn task to elect a new successor to the throne of St. Peter. The world watched, holding its breath. What would this conclave bring? What would the future hold? The world mourned a pope known for his humility, compassion, and embrace of the marginalized. Francis, the first Jesuit pope, had challenged tradition. He had urged the Church to confront its shortcomings. His papacy was marked by change, dialogue, and outreach. Yet beneath the mourning and ceremony, a secret simmered, a revelation so profound, so earth-shattering, that it threatened to shake the very foundations of faith. On his deathbed, Pope Francis had whispered a truth so shocking, so unbelievable that it had been kept tightly guarded. Until now. Jorge Mario Bergoglio, who would later be known as Pope Francis, dedicated his life to humble service. Born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, he felt a strong calling to the priesthood from a young age. He joined the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, renowned for their intellectual discipline and dedication to social justice. As a priest, he devoted himself to working in the slums of Buenos Aires. He cared for the sick, the poor, and the overlooked. He saw firsthand the hardships faced by the marginalized. His faith was grounded not in lofty ideals but in the reality of dirt streets and crowded homes. In 2013 he was elected pope, choosing the name Francis in honor of Saint Francis of Assisi, the patron saint of the poor and the environment. His papacy was characterized by humility, a stark contrast to the grandeur often associated with the role. He opted for simple vestments, rejecting the elaborate attire of his predecessors. He spoke out against inequality, poverty, and environmental destruction. He urged world leaders to take action on climate change. He called for compassion and understanding in a world often divided by conflict. His message reached far beyond the Vatican, touching hearts and minds around the world. For months, Pope Francis's health had been deteriorating. The world watched with worry as his once energetic presence became increasingly frail. Despite his weakening condition, he continued his duties, his voice softer, but his message just as urgent. Then came the news that stunned the world. Pope Francis had passed away. The Vatican issued a brief statement attributing his death to natural causes. The world mourned, reflecting on the man who had touched so many lives with his warmth, humility, and unwavering faith in humanity. But within the Vatican's walls, another story was emerging. Whispers, urgent and hushed, spoke of a final act of bravery, a truth revealed in his final hours, a secret shared with only a chosen few. On his deathbed, Pope Francis made a confession, a revelation so profound and terrifying in its implications that it had been kept hidden from the world, a secret that threatened to shake the very foundations of the Church he had led, a secret that, if unveiled, could change the world as we know it. The burden of Pope Francis's revelation weighed heavily on those who were privy to it. Cardinals, bound by their oath of secrecy, struggled with the consequences. How could they, as shepherds of the faithful, come to terms with this monumental truth? How could they, with clear conscience, keep it hidden from the world? The Church had always occupied a unique position in the world. It was a beacon of comfort, guidance, and unwavering faith amidst uncertainty. But this revelation, this harrowing secret, shook its very foundation. It struck at the heart of their beliefs, their understanding of humanity's place in the universe. The world outside the Vatican walls remained unaware, preparing for the conclave, speculating on potential successors. Yet, within the Church, a silent storm brewed, a storm that threatened to break, to shatter the illusion of stability, to unleash chaos upon the world. The conclave loomed, a deadline that could no longer be ignored. The cardinals faced an impossible decision: reveal the Pope's secret and risk global panic, or conceal it and betray the trust of billions. The fate of the Church and perhaps the world hung in the balance. Chapter 5. Faith and the Cosmos Collide. Pope Francis's disclosure was not about theology. It wasn't about sin, redemption, heaven, or hell. It was something far deeper, far more disturbing. It was a revelation that challenged humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos. A revelation that spoke of ancient encounters and knowledge hidden for millennia. The Church had long taught that humanity was God's unique creation in the vastness of the universe. But what if that wasn't the whole truth? What if, as Pope Francis suggested, we were not alone? What if for centuries the Vatican had known about other beings, other intelligences, existing beyond our comprehension? This revelation, once the stuff of science fiction, now threatened to become reality. The implications were immense. If true, it meant rewriting history, rethinking our place in the cosmos, and questioning the very essence of faith. The world, unknowingly, stood on the brink of a paradigm shift. The comfortable certainties of the past were disintegrating. The future, cloaked in uncertainty, promised a new understanding of the universe and humanity's place within it. Chapter 6: Echoes of Conclave. The movie Conclave, released just months before Pope Francis's passing, suddenly felt hauntingly relevant. This fictional tale, focused on a papal conclave dealing with a controversial secret, now seemed eerily prophetic. In the film, the cardinals faced a dilemma: uphold tradition or embrace change, even if it meant challenging the very core of their faith. Now, in reality, the stakes were immeasurably higher. The secret had transcended church doctrine, touching on humanity's place in the cosmos. The film's portrayal of intrigue and power struggles within the Vatican gained a new layer of significance. Was the real-life conclave also wrestling with internal divisions, with factions competing for control of the narrative and the future of the Church? Conclave served as a stark reminder that even within the Church, human ambition, fear, and the quest for power could influence the most sacred of duties. As the real-life conclave neared, the line between fiction and reality blurred, leaving a sense of unease and foreboding hanging in the air. Chapter 7: A World Transformed? Pope Francis's revelation had the potential to ripple far beyond the Vatican. If confirmed, it could revolutionize global society, altering our understanding of science, religion, and our place in the universe. Governments and scientific communities would rush to verify and comprehend the revelation. Our foundational knowledge and historical narratives would be challenged. The quest for extraterrestrial life, once a fringe science, would become a central pursuit. Religions worldwide would need to address the profound implications. If other intelligences exist, what does that mean for our understanding of God, creation, and our place in the cosmos? The world teetered on the edge of an era filled with unprecedented change, uncertainty, and potential. The familiar certainties of the past were now in question. The future, an uncharted territory, promised both enlightenment and the possibility of chaos. Chapter 8: Into the Unknown. As the cardinals made their way into the Sistine Chapel, the weight of history, expectation, and Pope Francis's alarming secret bore heavily upon them. The world watched, oblivious to the monumental shift about to unfold. The conclave, typically a time of solemn ritual and quiet reflection, now buzzed with a hidden tension, a sense of imminent revelation. Would they choose to unveil the truth, to herald a new era of understanding, uncertainty, and potential contact with the unknown? Or would they opt to keep the silence, shielding the world from a truth it might not be ready to confront? The doors closed behind the cardinals, sealing their fate, and the fate of the world, within the sacred walls of the Sistine Chapel. The world held its breath, waiting for the white smoke to rise, signaling the election of a new pope. A new era was on the horizon, an era unlike any other in human history.